Here's a question you've probably never thought about. Who decided what's beautiful? You might think beauty is just something natural, but ancient civilizations literally set the rules. Rules we're still following today whether we realize it or not. And here's the kicker, what they considered perfect might shock you. Throughout history, the way people define beauty has been shaped by culture, power, and innovation. The flawless faces and iconic looks we see today, they didn't just appear out of thin air. From intricate makeup rituals to body modifications, ancient empires transformed beauty into an art form, often with surprising tools and techniques. But what if I told you their ideas about beauty weren't just about looking good, but about control, status, and survival? Let's take a deep dive into how ancient empires revolutionized beauty standards forever. The challenge is simple. We tend to think of beauty trends as a modern obsession, something born from Hollywood, Instagram filters, or glossy magazine covers. But what if those ideas go way deeper? What if some of the beauty standards we follow today were born thousands of years ago in places we've only read about in history books? Ancient civilizations had their own ideas about perfection, and some of them were so extreme they might make you cringe. Others, surprisingly modern. So how did these ancient practices evolve into what we know today, and why do they still matter? Let's start with the Egyptians. When you think of ancient Egypt, you probably picture Cleopatra with her bold eyeliner and flawless skin. But did you know eyeliner wasn't just about aesthetics? The kohl they used, that dramatic black pigment, was believed to protect their eyes from the harsh desert sun and even ward off evil spirits. And here's the wild part. Modern studies suggest kohl might have had antibacterial properties, meaning it wasn't just for show, it could actually protect against infections. Plus the symmetrical almond-shaped eyes they painted on themselves, it was all about achieving a divine, godlike appearance. Then there's their obsession with wigs. Egyptians shaved their heads, not just to beat the heat but to keep lice at bay. Wigs weren't just practical, they were status symbols. The more elaborate your wig, the wealthier and more powerful you were. Sound familiar? Today's luxury hair extensions and elaborate hairstyles have their roots in practices like this. Jumping over to ancient China, beauty was about balance and harmony. The ideal woman's face was like a delicate porcelain doll. Pale skin, small lips and arched eyebrows. Pale skin wasn't just a preference, it was a status symbol. If your skin was pale, it meant you weren't working in the fields under the sun. To achieve this, women used powders made from rice flour and even lead. Yes, lead. It's as toxic as it sounds, but back then, the risk didn't matter. Beauty often came at a high cost. Foot binding, you've probably heard of it, was another shocking standard. The idea was to make a woman's feet as small as possible because small feet were considered elegant and desirable. It wasn't just a cosmetic choice, it was a way to control women's movements and keep them dependent. Can you imagine the pain and dedication it took to follow that standard? Yet, it was seen as the ultimate sign of beauty and refinement for centuries. Now let's travel to Greece and Rome. These cultures laid the foundation for many Western beauty ideals. Greek art and sculpture celebrated the golden ratio, a mathematical formula for perfect proportions. They believed beauty was tied to symmetry and balance, something that's still ingrained in our perceptions today. Those statues of gods and goddesses with their chiseled bodies and flawless features, they weren't just artistic choices, they were the blueprint for human perfection. But beauty wasn't just for women. In ancient Greece, men also had their own standards to live up to. They would oil their bodies, train rigorously, and even remove body hair to appear more youthful and athletic. Roman men followed suit, but they added a new layer, perfumes and skincare. Roman baths became hubs for grooming, with men using tools like strigils to scrape off dirt and dead skin. Sounds a bit like a spa day, doesn't it? Now let's talk about Mesoamerica. The Mayans and Aztecs had their own unique take on beauty. The Mayans, for example, practiced cranial deformation. Parents would bind their babies' heads to create elongated skulls, which they found incredibly beautiful. They also filed their teeth into specific shapes and inlaid them with jade. Yes, you heard that right. Jade teeth. The Aztecs, meanwhile, adored body paint and tattoos. Each design had cultural significance, representing everything from status to spiritual beliefs. Fast forward to the Middle Ages in Europe, and beauty took a dramatic turn. Pale skin was still in, but this time, women took it to the next level. They would pluck their hairlines to make their foreheads appear larger, because a high forehead was a sign of intelligence and nobility. Some even applied dangerous concoctions to their skin, like mixtures containing mercury, to achieve that ghostly glow. As time marched on, these ancient practices didn't just disappear, they evolved. During the Renaissance, corsets became the go-to beauty tool in Europe, shaping women's bodies into exaggerated hourglass figures. The Victorian era brought its own quirks, like arsenic wafers to keep skin pale and glowing. Yes, arsenic, the poison. Meanwhile in Japan, geishas perfected the art of beauty with intricate hairstyles, white face paint, and bold red lips, creating a timeless look that still fascinates us today. Here's the big takeaway. These ancient beauty standards weren't just about looking good, they were about identity, power, and survival. Whether it was Egyptian kohl protecting against infections, Chinese foot binding enforcing social roles, or Mayan jade teeth symbolizing wealth, beauty was never just skin deep. These standards shaped societies, reinforced hierarchies, and left an indelible mark on history. And the craziest part, we're still influenced by them. Every time you use eyeliner, contour your face, or obsess over symmetrical features, you're echoing traditions that started thousands of years ago. So the next time you scroll through social media, or see a new beauty trend, remember this. Beauty isn't just about trends or personal preference. It's a mirror reflecting centuries of culture, innovation, and yes, a little bit of obsession. From the pyramids of Egypt to the salons of today, the quest for beauty has always been about more than meets the eye. Want to uncover more fascinating stories like this? Hit that subscribe button and dive into our next video.